Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is BestInSlot, and tonight we're going to talk about potentially two brand new dinosaurs for Jurassic World Evolution, uncovered by the intrepid people over on the Jurassic World subreddit, Jurassic World Evolution subreddit I should say. Now these were all discovered in the IGN Developer Diary number 2, and they are plucked out from tiny images and brief glimpses. It's hard to spot. So we're going to do a little bit of science tonight, but I want to credit the subreddit for a lot of these ideas and stuff like that. I formed my own opinions, we're going to go through all of that tonight, but if you haven't already and you're interested in Jurassic World Evolution, you should go check out the subreddit because it is by and large awesome or meme filled depending on the day of the week. So the first one we're going to try to figure out is a mystery sauropod, and I'm going to bring up the image of it right here. Credit to the Reddit again. There you go. Can you tell what it is yet? For those curious, the one we're looking for isn't even the big ones in the bottom left because that's clearly a Brachiosaurus. It's that one right there. That's the dinosaur we're trying to figure out. So we're going to do some CSI nonsense. Shoom. I don't have sound effects. Shoom. There we go. Isn't that just as good as real sound effects? So I brought the dinosaur out like so and highlighted it as its own separate thing so we can get the main thing we're going to focus on really is this here, the shape of the neck. That's what's going to be important to figuring out what this dinosaur is, because we can compare it first of all with the sauropods we know are in the game. So very clearly it is not a Brachiosaurus. It is not only smaller than the Brachiosauruses, I realise that it's further away than the Brachiosaurs, like that distance there. It's clearly further from the camera, but I think we can tell that, you know, the top of the head's probably there, the body's there, whereas on the Brachiosaurus, it's a vast difference. So it's clearly not a Brachiosaurus. It's also clearly not a Camarasaurus. We can tell that by the shape of the neck. The neck it's got this very sort of discernible, you know, loop kind of down and then up, very sharp angle to it, which the Camarasaurus quite simply doesn't have. The next best bet is the Apatosaurus. Now this is probably the closest one to the one we actually have in the game. It's roughly the same colour, they're all sort of grey, and although the neck on the species profile is kind of more straight, in this image we get off it in the game, it's still straight, but there's that little kink in it there. I'd say it's still more of a straight angle like that though. It doesn't have that kind of, you know, shumph. We want a little shumph. So the assumption is that this is one of two other sauropods, both of which have been rumoured to be in the game over the past couple of weeks. The first one is, not that one, the first one is Mamenchiasaurus, which if we pull out this image from the Lost World Jurassic Park, there we go, you can see it very clearly has a zoom, that very, you know, goes forward and then goes up in a very sharp angle, kind of like the one here. I have two problems with this as a theory, however. Given Frontier have, generally speaking, stuck to what the dinosaurs look like in the films when they're making these dinosaurs, there's two big differences here between this dinosaur. First of all, although it does have a shoom, I'm going to stop saying shoom eventually, like it does here on the right hand side, the top of the head on the Jurassic Park Lost World Mamenchiasaurus is significantly higher than the highest one for this one on the left hand side. Now there is a chance one on the left simply has its head lower, but I think we'd see that reflected in the neck. I do think Mamenchiasaurus will be in the game. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. But in my opinion, what this might actually be is the Diplodocus. If we look at the Diplodocus, this is just a skeleton I pulled off Google. I think this is the closest match for it personally. It has that kind of shoom, kind of, you know, it's quite a sudden uptick, but the head doesn't go as high. It has that kind of straight tail that only slowly drops down like we've seen on the left. Diplodocus is a very well-known sauropod. That would be a pretty popular dinosaur to include in our parks. I do think Mamenchiasaurus will make it in, because Mamenchiasaurus along with Compsognathus is one of only those two dinosaurs that hasn't made it in but did have an actual film appearance in Jurassic Park. But as we've seen with the Hadrosaurs, for example, we could have up to 5 of one grouping of dinosaur within the game. So if we have both Diplodocus and Mamenchiasaurus, that would bring our total of sauropods up to 5, which I don't think would be too excessive. I think that's definitely a possibility. And it would fit just after Dilophosaurus in the species list we saw a couple of weeks ago, which we haven't seen past Dilophosaurus, so basically everything after DIL is up for grabs at this point in time. So I personally am going with Diplodocus, I should say, not Dilophosaurus. If that's over Dilophosaurus, it's a very weird one, but it is very much up for grabs. I'd love to know what you guys think at home. Which of the two do you think this is? It could be something else, but Diplodocus, Mamenchiasaurus seem the most likely if it is a new sauropod, and if it isn't, then it's probably an Apatosaurus with a bit of a bad neck. You know, he's had a rough day, he got up on the wrong side of the bed, he has a sore neck. I'm putting my money on Diplodocus, but I would still either way be very surprised if Mamenchiasaurus doesn't make it into the game. Plus, as we've seen before, you know, at the end of the day, it's their game, and Jurassic Park in general doesn't necessarily stick to what the dinosaurs looked like in reality. There's a chance it could be, you know, it could be anything really, and we just don't know. But that's the only image we have to go from. Right, Sauropod finished, but we do have another one to look at, and this time we've got a little bit more detail, a little bit more information. I've pulled out this screenshot right here. I'm going to give you guys a bigger version. Everyone's kind of pulled off the same image. It's kind of hard to see in motion, but the discussion over this guy, now this is definitely a nodosaurid of some form. Now a nodosaurid is a form of ankylosaurid, but the way you can tell it apart from other ankylosaurs in particular is the lack of sort of big, okay, it doesn't look like that, but you know, like a hammer. But there's an official term that I've completely forgotten the name of. But a club is the word I'm looking for. Ankylosaurs have those big clubs at the end of the tail. Nodosaurs, despite being an ankylosaurid, do not have that same club. So we know this is a nodosaur of some form. But we don't know what type. There's really two up for grabs. Now, the thing we're going to focus on is this right here. I'm going to draw like a little image. Oh, there you go. That's what that is. That's that there. And I'll highlight that a little bit for those missing it. And it's what that is. Now, there's two dinosaurs up for discussion. Now, I'm going to bring them both up here first. Let's just leave those images on. So, sorry about the Nodosaurus, by the way. Nodosaurus, despite being a nodosaurid, and you'd think popular within that grouping, has nothing but bizarre art. It kind of looks like a giant, weird, naked mole rat to me. It's either, in all likelihood, a Nodosaurus or a Sauropelta. Now, whether that thing on the left-hand side, right here, whether that is a spike or not, is what will determine whether this is a Nodosaurus or a Sauropelta. It does seem to be missing maybe the other spikes, but none of the images I found of the Sauropelta have quite a defined layer there between the top and the bottom. But at the end of it, it could well be both. We really don't know. The spike is very hard to figure out. I actually lean towards it being a spike, personally. I think this Sauropelta on the bottom right might be a little over the top. I'm going to include the video with this. Hopefully you guys have been watching it. I took a little clip of that IGN video and I centered it just on the Nodosaurid. Now, when it's still, it kind of looks like a tree or something that blends with the background, but when you see it in motion, and I think when you see it highlighted here, I think to me that is a very noticeable spike. Something the Nodosaurus didn't have. That's not, again, to say that Nodosaurus won't make it into the game, but if I had to hedge my bets between the two that are most widely discussed, based on dig sites available and stuff like that, Sauropelta to me seems like the more likely. At first I thought that spike was nothing. I really did. I thought it was a plant or something. But when you watch it in motion, doesn't it seem like it seems to move with the dinosaur? You know, it seems to be attached to its body. And since Nodosaurus quite clearly does not have a big spike, well, it does now, since it didn't have a spike at the time, it seems to suggest it's a Sauropelta. Again, up for discussion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, but I thought we'd do a little bit of science. And I'm going to put my money down. I don't have any money, but let's pretend I did, and say that it's a Diplodocus and a Sauropelta. They're my two bets. Let me know what you think both will be, and like if anyone can get both right, I will give you absolutely nothing, but you'll feel like a smarter human being. There's one other thing I want to talk about briefly before the end of the video. Now that we've done our science, let's go to that. And it's the colour scheme of the dinosaur on the left-hand side. You shouldn't compare it to any of these because this is obviously just random art. But I did a piece on a dinosaur a while ago, late last year, about a dinosaur called Borealopelta. Now this was a nodosaurid as well, discovered in the bottom of like a riverbed, and it was really, really interesting in that because of how the dinosaur had died, so much of the formation of the dinosaur had been kept. You can see it on the right hand side. It is a fantastic specimen, one of the greatest dinosaur specimens in history, in paleontological history. I did do a whole video on that called Pangea Today, something I'm going to bring back, by the by, just in case people are curious. Borealopelta was a really interesting dinosaur. Is it me, or do those two have a slightly similar colour scheme? There's kind of, especially when you see all the other pictures of Borealopelta, but it's kind of got this darker on top, lighter underneath. This was something raised on the subreddit. I'm not totally convinced, but you know, given that this was a big paleontological nodosaurid discovery in the last year, it would make sense to base at least one nodosaurid on a similar colour scheme. The nodosaurid on the left and the nodosaurid on the right, they kind of have a similar kind of shine going on. I would love, actually, if this was Borealopelta on the left-hand side. There's no way it is, based on the dig sites, but that would be pretty cool as well. Also, the spike makes no sense. But still, other than those minor factors, I would love that to be in the game. That would be one of the coolest inclusions Frontier could make into this game, Borealopelta. Even in the future, you know, add the dig site, add the dinosaur. Anyways, that is it. I have no more pretend science to do. Hope you enjoyed this little look. When it comes to this kind of thing, where we're trying to figure out the species, I think this kind of video makes a little bit more sense. But let me know your opinions. What do you think those two mystery dinosaurs are? If we can figure it out, it brings our total list up to so many. There's only, I don't know, 8 dinosaurs or something that we don't know at this point in time, or even less than that. New ones are being revealed all the time, even when they are briefly seen in videos. People will pick it the hell apart, and we ended up with videos like this. It's good stuff. The game is out in like 3 and a little bit weeks, folks. Hope you're as excited as I am. I will see you lovely folks in the next episode. Cheers, much love as always. And before I go, I want to say thank you one more time. I have just hit 500,000 subscribers as of today. Thank you to everyone who's joined me in the last few months. But of course, everyone who's joined me over the last, 7 years or whatever it's been, who supported me this far. And yeah, here's to 1 million. I'll have an official video on that in the next couple of weeks as well anyway. So cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye. Quick little shout out at the end. This video and others like it would not be possible at all without the support of you guys watching me at home, and also everyone on this Patreon page right here who supported me in the last month. If you want to help out as well, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. Every little really helps. Cheers.